Welcome back to Good Dog TV, everybody. I am so pleased now to be joined by Derek Garrett, who is an entrepreneur and the founder of an interesting company called Zoundz. If you have a dog, you're going to want to pay attention to this. Hi, Derek. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having us.
And of course, who do we have here?
We have Miles Davis.
Tell us a little bit about Zoundz. I feel like Miles Davis plays really well into who you are and what the company is.
Yeah, so Miles Davis, he's our office manager for Zoundz. And yes, is Miles Davis as in the jazz artist, Miles Davis. Zoundz is a music-based application that actually calm dogs and cats in stressful environments through sound therapeutics. And it streams just like any other platform, but the content is what really differentiates it from other streaming platforms.
We hear a lot about dog anxiety, animal anxiety, especially coming out of the pandemic. It's a popular topic and it's something that a lot of dog owners deal with. Where did the concept come from?
You know, it was born through a conversation that I was having with a veterinarian friend / neighbor, and he was sharing how it was becoming more and more difficult to be able to examine both dogs and cats in a veterinarian hospital environment. And he was saying that, you know, it was making it even more difficult. The pet parents would blame the vet and the vet tech and say, hey, you know, my dog is fine at home, my cat is okay at home, you know, it's got to be you. And they didn't want to provide meds for the dogs. And so as he was speaking about this, I know because of my previous business and my background as an audio engineer, I know how music can drive behavior for humans. And so I immediately started to think, I wonder, you know, if there's any studies out there that shows how music can have a common impact on dogs and cats. And so I immediately dove in, and sure enough, I found 4 peer-reviewed studies that showed how there are specific parameters in a song, such as tempo, chord progression, the key that the song is written in. When you bring these elements together, it could actually have a common effect on both dogs and cats.
This is fascinating to me because you as an engineer and a musical producer having such expertise in that, and now finding your way to something that's also science-based related to dogs.
Yeah, yes. I mean, yeah, it's just, it was, you know, when I saw that, when I first started to read these studies, it really spoke to me because of my background in engineering. But I was still like, I have to test this for myself. So I immediately pulled together a group of composers, and I provided them with these specific parameters, and I asked them to go in and compose 3 to 4 tracks based on these parameters, and I explained to them that I wasn't concerned about the genre of the music. Yes, I wanted it to be pleasing for the human ear, but more importantly, I really wanted to stay focused on these specific parameters. And then I thought, what better environment to test this music in than in a shelter environment? Because that's where you're going to find the most stressful, you know, dogs and cats. And so that's what we did. And I would say after about, it was like maybe a couple of months, once the music was composed, it took about a couple of months. We partnered with the shelter, and we were going back and forth about, you know, just making changes and revising the instrumentation and then referring back to the studies. And after a couple of months, we were able to like see a significant difference. The CEO of the shelter that we were working with emailed me one day and was like, I forget that I have dogs in this shelter when I come in some mornings because they're so quiet after playing. At this point, it wasn't Zoundz, it was just music, because we didn't have a company name at that point. But she was like, after hearing this, playing the music all night, throughout the night, you know, they would come in and they would see a huge difference in the behavior and just overall anxiety.
How did you decide which instruments or sounds would be appealing to a dog? Are there certain instruments or sounds that dogs like that put them at ease?
Yeah, so what we found when it's all said and done, I mean, we experimented with a lot of different instrumentation, but when it's all said and done, the lower register of the piano is like really the sweet spot for dogs. Cats are total opposite.
Interesting.
Yes.
What do people who use the app say about the effects that it's had on their anxious dog?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, like, the shelter environment for us, like, so we have my wife and I started I don't want to say a division, but we started a shelter program called the Harmony Project, and where we're giving Zoundz away to shelters across the country. And we're getting such great feedback from the shelters. Like, so there's, you know, in a lot of cases we're receiving feedback where there's a dog that has, behavioral issues, and they're using, and the dog is separated out, and they're using Zoundz throughout the day, and they're seeing a noticeable difference. Last year, we launched our first campaign for thunderstorms and fireworks.
Those are two hot button issues.
Absolutely, and we got a lot of great feedback during July 4th last year from pet parents, because we have a channel called Therapeutic Sounds within the app, and there's a sub-channel called Scary Sounds, where it's sound masking, white noise, and Zoundz playing simultaneously. So you have the calming happening as well as the masking of the external noise. And that's been really, really effective.
Was there a moment where you knew, hey, this is the light bulb, we're actually onto something here?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Carolyn. That happened almost immediately in the shelter. Once I got that sort of feedback from the shelter and was able to go there and see it actually in action and actually being effective, that was all I needed. That was the birth of Zoundz. Because at that point, that's when I was like, okay, I'm willing to invest in this.
This is actually a concept that makes a lot of sense that I'd never heard of. I was so excited to learn about it because it's just proof that there might be other therapeutic treatments for dogs who might be dealing with this kind of thing.
Right, yeah, and we don't say that, and we don't, in our messaging, we don't position Zoundz as a product to compete with meds, or in some cases, you may have a dog with their anxiety is so high, you could use a combination of Zoundz and meds. So we really try to play together. But yeah, it's also great though for those who do not want to take the route of using meds to be able to have this as an alternative that actually works.
It has been such a pleasure, Derek, learning about Zoundz and the change that you guys are making within the dog and cat loving community, because I'd never heard of anything like this, and it's just fascinating the work that you guys are doing. And the app is accessible for everybody. If it's something that you might be struggling with your animal at home, maybe they can go pick it up. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we are going to take a quick break, but more Good Dog TV on the way. When we come back, Dr. Jen is here with health and wellness tips. We love those, but we couldn't step away without listening to some soothing Zoundz. So enjoy. We'll be back after this.